3. Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in that intro you just heard me getting really into dynamics. So I was purposefully trying to play with good dynamics. What does that mean? It means trying to get the full range of volume, right? So like, how soft can I play? And then can I accentuate that soft with little accents of kind of moderately loud, and then maybe save that super loud for a climactic moment, right? So my strumming or my finger strumming was more on the soft, very soft to soft with some accents, you know, with the thumb slap thing. And then in my lead, I tried to kind of ramp it up a little bit. So music is all about contrast. We respond to contrast. If you go see a band and every song is the same tempo, same volume, you know, you just get bored. You can't help but get used to it and then tune out. That's how we are as humans. If things are the same for too long, we get bored, we take things for granted, right? Life is about ups and downs. A good story is about ups and downs. A good movie, a good book, there's contrast from part to part, from section to section. There's a, you know, an intro, there's a climax, and then there's an ending. So in music, we can do that within a single phrase, within a song. You know, we can always play around with contrast. And one of the great ways to do that, and a way that will make your playing sound much more dynamic, is to play around with dynamics. So how can we get good at that? Before we get into it, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, be sure to also tap that bell and let us know in the comments what you would like to see in the future on the channel. That's where we're always looking for ideas. All right, let's get into it. So you want to get to know how soft can you actually play, and then how loud can you play. And there's a point of loud where you're not actually getting any louder, you're just getting harsher. So you want to find out, like, where is loud without sounding terrible, right? Like some people are just, let me lower my volume, this is going to hurt a little, you know. And it's just like, it's just harsh to hear. Whereas that's loud without sounding harsh. As opposed to, I'm not saying that harsh can't be a good effect. Harsh in the right circumstances might be exactly what you're trying to achieve. You want to create that feeling of, whoa, right? But you want to be able to just dial it down a couple notches, dial it down a couple more notches, dial it all the way down, right? So the first thing to do is just literally try to play as soft as you can. If it's chords with a pick, you know, and you're playing a C major chord, right? See how soft you could hold your pick and how soft you could actually hit the strings. This is about as soft as I could go right here. I can't go any softer with a pick, but I can with my thumb. That could be a reason why you might want to experiment with the fingers for that very reason. You know, there's a lot of players that use their fingers for that reason. Wes Montgomery, the great jazz guitar player, played single note lines with his thumb. And when asked in interviews how he got started doing that, he said he would practice late at night and he didn't want to disturb his neighbors and his family. So he was a really considerate guy. And as a result, he developed a new technique. Right? So that's one thing. What is the actual thing that's attacking the strings? Is it a pick? Is it the flesh of your finger? Is it the nail? Right? Here I have a nail. Here I have flesh. Here I have a pick. So some lead players you hear grab the pick, hold it, and do things like switch to their fingers and then suddenly pull out the pick. Right, so there I went back and forth, if you watch my right hand. So pick. So let's say I'm in that key of C major. So pick. Fingers. Pick. Fingers. Louder pick. Getting into harsh right there, right? But it hit really dramatically because I started, right? I started like that. That was my lowest. And then my loudest was, right? So whatever you're practicing, see how soft you could play it. If you're practicing scales, I said C major, let's say C major pentatonic scale. How light can you touch the strings with both hands and still get the sound? Test the limit. Barely audible. And then I could do things like palm mute. So that's where I put the palm right where the string meets the bridge saddle. Cool, right? Now, we don't necessarily have to experiment with how loud we can get. We generally are very clear about how loud we could get, right? Because we tend to, when we start playing, you know, play, there's that note, I got it, right? So another great thing to do is play, let's say the first note louder, accented, and then the next three notes soft, like this. Something like, or every other note. Or maybe too hard, too soft. And then if you learn a phrase, like let's say you learn this riff, it goes 9th fret on the G, 8 to 10 on the B, 8 on the E, 10 to 8, then back to 10, and then back to 8 on the next string. Practice, take that riff and I just accented that note C. Every time I got to the C, I gave that a louder accent. So. Fingers. So me personally, I got nail on the index, so I'm going to do flesh on the thumb until I get to that note. Nice. Palm muting. Except for that one note. Maybe I accent the first and the same note that we just did. Right? So the thing is, you're just being mindful of that ebb and flow of volume in your phrasing. Just pay attention to it. That's the main takeaway. You could practice it in different ways, but if you're aware of it and it becomes something that you value, it's going to come out in your playing. Just by the very fact of you valuing it as something that brings excitement and pleasure to what you're hearing and what you're, sharing with others, then it's going to come out in your playing. But it does take a lot of control. So you do want to work on it. All right, everybody. So that's my case for working on your dynamics. I think this is one of the things that we might not realize makes a lot of players we love sound great, when it absolutely is. Just, I've noticed it by actually working with videos of great players. When I bring them into my editing software, the waveforms, like there's big waveforms and then there's small ones. There's so much contrast from note to note, even within a phrase. So, this is something that I hear a lot more in players that don't use a ton of distortion, because distortion by its nature compresses. An overdriven amplifier or a distortion pedal, the sound gets compressed, which means the lows become louder and the louds become lower. It becomes more monotonous. It becomes squashed. That's the term for compressor, a squash pedal, right? It squashes the dynamics into one volume. Whereas with clean and a responsive amplifier or a responsive instrument, those you're going to be able to achieve those very low volumes and those really high volumes. Like for instance, right now, this microphone, what you're hearing in post-production, I'm going to use a compressor, because when you're, listening to this in your headphones as a lesson, I want you to hear every word I say very clearly, but I don't want to overcompress it, because the same thing, I'm going to sound more boring if I'm more monotonous. If I have some lows and then some highs, you're going to pay attention. So it's the same thing in music. All right, everybody, I hope that tip was helpful. I hope I built a good case for why this is something you should prioritize. And I would encourage you, when you're listening to other musicians, singers, musicians, bands, songs, pay attention to dynamics, this variation between loud and soft, from phrase to phrase, from section to section, from song to song. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you want to learn more about playing guitar, head over to guitartricks.com. There's a library of song lessons with downloadable tab, multiple videos per song. There's sequential courses in guitar fundamentals, blues, country, and rock. Lots of great stuff there, guitartricks.com. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.